Good afternoon. My name is Desiree, and I'm with the El Paso Chamber, and we would like to welcome you to another interview series with our page, El Paso Businesses Stand Together. Today, we are lucky enough to have Brad. He is the Chief Executive Officer with Western Tech College here in El Paso. And so we are so happy to have you, Brad. Thank you for joining us.
Well, Desiree, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to interview me and thank everybody at the chamber. And I hope everyone is healthy and well at this time.
Yes, and you know what? I know things must be crazy for you right now. My sister is in education as well, but she does elementary school. So I can't even imagine what kind of hurdles you guys are facing and how you guys are overcoming that.
Well, I think it's interesting because all of us are going through different and very individualized obstacles and scenarios that we're having to overcome. So, like, I have a very young family. So I have four small children that range from the oldest is 8 years old all the way down to one almost 2 years old. And my wife is also over 8 months pregnant. So my wife is also working from home and she's in education as well. She teaches online for a university, but we have taken over me working from home, my wife working from home, and then we have two kids one in kindergarten and one in second grade that we're trying to now kind of homeschool as well. And so there definitely have been obstacles. And so, I mean, everything from internet usage, like who's got the tablet or what tablet's being used. I mean, it's pretty funny to see, but yeah, it carries at all levels. It doesn't matter whether you're the CEO or anybody else. We're dealing with that right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is the new reality, right? The new normal. So, you're fighting over who has what and trying to, get some Wi-Fi extra, hit the Wi-Fi spot in the right area.
I'm just going to interject a little bit that I understand that there is going to be some type of new normal, but I got to be honest, I can't wait till my kids get to go back to school.
I know.
I love them to death, but I think my wife and I are on the same page on that one.
Yeah, you know what? As a former teacher, I feel like for teacher appreciation weeks from now on, parents are really going to go all out when it comes to their kiddos teachers.
Yeah,
Because right now I
definitely.
feel like the parents are really feeling it.
we we can definitely show our appreciation more for what they have to put up with, because I don't know what would happen if I had 24 kids here. I would have lost my sanity a long time ago.
Yes, exactly. And actually, Linda has just commented and she would like to give you a shout out to let you know that she is watching. You are her CEO. So she wants to show her support and let you know that she's watching. So thanks for joining us, Linda. Um, Let me just remind all of our viewers that this is a Facebook Live interview. So we do recommend that any questions that you have in regards to education or any questions that you have just in general, go ahead and post them. We'll ask. This is an opportunity for Brad to give us some of his input, get your questions answered. And of course, if Brad doesn't pertain to anything he's doing in particular, we will find you the answer through the El Paso Chamber. So please don't hesitate to put your questions. I have them right here, so it's a live stream. I'll get them in real time. So as we're going through, feel free to post your questions and I will ask them. So Brad, let me go ahead and just start off with asking you a little bit about what we were talking about before we went on air, which is having to go remote. So I know that right now Western Tech is going remote, as are most of the different schools throughout Texas. Do you see education programs preparing students for this to be the new normal?
So, I think there will be some adjustment back, but it really kind of depends on the program and the area of study in which you're in. So, like, we were talking about nurses earlier on, Desiree, and I think when when we were having that conversation, we have a Bachelor of Science in Nursing program as well. And that program is definitely designed to be, fully on ground and in person. But there are individual adaptations that we can make and have made, of course, in making the transition to online. And so I think there will be some hybrid that we find in developing this new normal, as we've referred to it before. But you know, there are certain occupations and ones that are very important for infrastructure, for example. So our first program that we ever started was the welding program. And this was started back in 1970 when we incorporated as El Paso Trade School. We were a one program school, we taught welding. And that has continued on. It's been a wonderful program, and we've gained a lot of experience in that. But moving welding fully online, in my opinion, just doesn't work. It can work for a temporary period of time, but really welding is an art form, and you need to have a certain touch. So if you're not able to get that hands-on training, then you're not able to get the full benefit and be fully prepared. So our welding program, we're looking at reintroducing and phasing in the hands-on portion beginning June 1st. And we've already received approval for that from the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. But like I said, I mean, you can have all different types of variations in between. You can have welding, which is very hands-on, all the way to a program like medical billing and coding, or our Bachelor in Business program, that definitely can be adapted to fully online. I think all individual businesses will find some type of new normal that's in between the two extremes. You can't always do some type of work via distance. There needs to be some type of in person contact, as well as hands-on training and hands-on application of that training.
Right. And that makes total sense. And I know you were saying with your young family, you guys are still adjusting to the new normal of having the kids there. And so, I think right now everyone is kind of seeing that adjusting, and that sometimes is a little bit painful, but it does promote a lot of opportunities for growth. But what advice would you give to young people who feel deflated about small businesses, and maybe the having to stall if they had an idea for a small business, having to wait to start it, or if they wanted to go to college to pursue something so that they could start their own small business?
I think that is an excellent question. And one thing that I would recommend to young people as they're looking is that COVID-19 has presented all of us with um, hiccups in the road, bumps in the road. And, we may view them as roadblocks and view them as huge obstacles. But ultimately, I think one thing that makes small businesses great is that they're so versatile. And the ingenuity that comes from small businesses has been what's driven the US economy for so long. It's what drives El Paso. And, it always is remarkable. I was born and raised in El Paso. I'm a graduate of Eastwood High School. And, it's always been remarkable to me the number of individuals that are able to have their own businesses and employ, friends and family members. And El Paso is such a familial community, but don't give up hope on that, because that type of ingenuity drives the entrepreneurship that has driven the El Paso economy and has been our backbone for a long period of time. And we have grown and we've thrived on that. while many businesses have been hurt, and they've been hurt pretty bad. I think the government at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, while everyone has their political differences, has done a relatively good job in trying to step up and provide avenues and opportunities. So, payroll protection plan, and all the different CARES Act that have been passed, have gone to help businesses and employees, and just continue and preserve, uh, so that we can get through this difficult time. But the recovery from this may take some time, but don't lose hope on that. And if you have an idea for a business, this shouldn't be an obstacle to prevent you from starting that. It should actually encourage you to make adaptations, make modifications to the idea that you have, and push through with it. Reaching for the stars is never easy, and having a goal and an obstacle that is worthwhile pursuing, that is going to benefit you, that's going to benefit your family, that's going to benefit the community in the end, needs to be difficult. It's not going to be an easy road to to haul on that. And so if your goal, if your dream is to start a business, then start it. you know Look, I don't think that my recommendation of just because we're in COVID-19 would change the common saying, today's the day. Just pursue forward, make sure that you are cautious in your approach, as you always should be, whether we're in COVID-19 or not. But make adaptations to your business plan and pursue it. And if that requires you going and getting an education or enhancing your educational abilities, looking for industry standard certification in your area, then go and do it. Now is the time to get it done. So make that a goal, set that as your goal, and pursue it. And I promise you that if you live your goal and you make that a focal point in your life, that you will achieve it, and there will be a lot of life lessons learned in that.
I think that's actually like a really great way to look at it. This is an opportunity to not only really identify what your goal is, but identify ways that you can kind of make it easier to put into reality, because you do have to make all these, you have to question it, and you have to make sure it's kind of bulletproofed, because you want to make sure that this is something that's sustainable. And so I think that's great. And I'm a big list maker and a big goal
Mhm.
planner, so I like your idea of today's the day, just start, take the first step. um One of the questions that we had was, and it feeds right into it, are with this downtime, some of us are, we won't mention names. Some of us are on Amazon a little too frequently, you know.
I'm right there
but-
with you.
yeah, like I feel like a puppy when the doorbell rings. I'm like, it's a package. Thank you. Trying to make small talk with the delivery man. But so with all this downtime, this is an opportunity to really beef up educationally, and make the most of it. I know that at the chamber we use Coursera, and there are a slew of courses on there. One of the ones I took was on positive psychology, just because I thought that would be interesting in a really stressful time, to be able to kind of delve into that and feel like I'm learning something new that's useful. So, Brad, for you, what do you think are some good courses to take during this downtime? And what do you think are the upcoming fields of the future? If you had to, I know that's a hard ask.
Well, and it is a difficult ask, but there are quite a few courses or programs that you can definitely look at taking. I think all of us have been able to look at what parts of the economy have been able to continue moving and progressing. Those people that are classified as essential employees, basically. Um, And look, I'm gonna be honest. My personal opinion on that is all employees are essential um, in all industries, because I don't want to downplay the individual that had to file for unemployment, but was doing a bang up job at their place of employment. They're they are just as essential as the rest of us, and we're all in this together. We are. But many of these essential workers that are out there who have been in, the healthcare field primarily, we see them on the front lines of caring for COVID patients, for caring for others. We've seen an uptick in the need for, nurses, medical assistants, medical billers, and coders. And so those are all essential people who in some form or fashion are definitely on the front line. But some of the people who have also maybe not been as upfront there was a big push at the beginning for commercial truck drivers, and they're the ones who have that's why we're getting our Amazon packages. They're the ones still on the road, but they're also the reason that our healthcare facilities and the grocery stores are continuing to be stocked, and they're an important part of our economy. But you know they wouldn't be able to do their job without diesel mechanics and keeping those big diesel trucks on the road, because if they break down with a truckload of N95 mask, then a healthcare facility that's down there, or they have a truckload of respirators, a healthcare facility that is caring for those patients is going to be modified. And so really there are a lot of important jobs and tasks. Many of the programs that we teach have gone to those essential employees, those essential healthcare workers. uh, HVAC and refrigeration technicians. We always think about commercial refrigerators, or our own air conditioning unit at the house, which is critically important, because as we've hit over 100 for the past couple of days, I don't know what I'd do in working from home if I didn't have refrigerated air. I'd be dying. I'd have to go up and work from Cloudcroft in a tent or something and find a way to get internet access. But they're also the ones who are maintaining, you know, air quality within healthcare facilities, within the hospitals and the doctors' offices and clinics that we go and visit. And so, as we talk about air quality and the masks that we're wearing, which is contributing to improved healthcare or improved air quality within buildings, but HVAC and refrigeration technicians are extremely critical right now to not only us in our residences, but the hospitals and the healthcare facilities that we're working on. So really, it's up to you guys. I know we like to sit down, and many of us, and me particular, so I am not a technician. I'm a businessman, and so sitting down and reading a book like The Power of Positive Thinking, and really trying to develop that positive mentality is important to me, and it's what encourages me. But I think if we want to continue to develop those important aspects of what keeps the economy going, we also need to expand that to many of the technicians and the trades that sometimes don't get mentioned a lot.
Right. And I think you bring up a really great point. I don't think anyone really, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion, I don't think anybody really ever gave the due thanks to, the shelf stockers at Target or the grocery store, or, the truck drivers who are, or the post office. And right
Yeah.
now, that is really what's keeping our economy running and helping us out. So you make a great point that really, any job in which you're helping people could be considered essential.
Yeah. And I'm very grateful, because like when we made the initial transition, look, most of our programs at Western Tech are all hybrid already. And so the students in some form or fashion were already used to going online and doing schoolwork online 1 to 3 days a week. And so it really helped because our students and our faculty were already familiar with the online environment and the educational environment online,
Mhm.
and they did a fairly good job. So with minor hiccups, of course, that we were able to, make a relatively smooth transition to online. But there are certain programs that weren't online or weren't hybrid at that point. And one of the difficulties that we had was, okay, how do we get computers to these students who are enrolled in these programs that didn't have computers already, because they normally used, their we had classroom laptops or a computer lab that they'd use at the school. And so it was like, shoot, we got to order a couple hundred laptops. And that was, as this thing first got started. So we were able to get that done. And I was grateful for, the warehouses that had it stocked and people that were stocking, the delivery drivers, the trucks that got it here. And then we were able to distribute that out to the students. That was to me, very essential for what we had to do to make the transition online. And we were lucky that we were able to make some of those moves online. But man, there were some critical people that really kept the essence of who we are as Western tech going, and I'm very appreciative of them for that.
Well, I mean, that's great. And we know that you guys, you've worked so hard to make sure that your students have access and are able to continue their education during this time. So really kudos to you and your organization. But again, I just wanted to get an idea as far as any good courses that you feel would be good right now in this time for people to sign up for.
So, the business program right now, and the business courses that we have in there are critical, especially some of the logistics. So, when we're looking at opportunities that are out there, trucking companies are still hiring and they're still trying to find their way. They're making adaptations from, a lot of the stuff that they normally ship to some of the essentials. But I think that's a very good quality program out there. I'm not sure, if we're talking about, some professional development courses out there. uh, that really depends on what your, business ambitions are. But really, I got to tell you, 95% of the programs that we're teaching and the courses that we're teaching are going towards, essential employees and those fields. We are still getting job orders for many of our programs out of our career services department, and that's not stopping. I went and took my wife's car the other day to get an oil change, and as I stopped in there, they said, "Hey, look, we're looking. We need, I think they said, 4 lube techs right away, and they're going to need an additional 5 within the next month or so." And so, really, if we're looking at, a career shift, many of the programs that we're offering are still, there's still a high need for them out there.
That's great. And that's a great way to encourage our viewers or anybody who's interested in furthering their education and not having to take a sit down and wait time to really get out there and join Western Tech and get back on their feet or start a new career.
But there are other opportunities out there, as parts of manufacturing have started, they slowed down a little bit. I don't expect that is going to last very long. I think when we get some type of clearance to head back to work, I think that manufacturing is going to pick up again. And one thing that is important to learn and understand is that we have realized, I think, as a country, that relying on, you know, countries like China for a large part of the supply chain has constrained our resources here during this time. Especially, we could get into serious difficulty on the medicine supply chain. And so some of those manufacturing organizations, I would expect that us as a borderplex region are going to have some opportunities to pick up some additional manufacturing organizations who are looking at shifting. And so I think preparing yourself for employment in some of those fields, like we have an electronics engineering technology program that goes into manufacturing technology and robotics, is going to be critical, and those industries are not going away.
Right. Oh, well, that's great. And that sounds really interesting, your technological program. So, that's awesome. I think that's a great way for people to, not lose hope. I think you bring up a good point that one of the silver linings of this could be that as a borderplex area, we start to kind of see ourselves in a different light and that starts to open opportunity. So that was a great point. Again, I just want to remind our viewers that this is a Facebook Live interview. So please, Brad is so desperate to answer all of your questions. So if you have any questions in regards to education or anything business related, we will do our best to answer it live here. And of course, if we can't for whatever reason, we will get you the answer as soon as possible. So Brad, I'm gonna price some more. So unemployment right now is at an all-time high. I mean, every day we're getting more and more people applying. The reports are getting more, like it's getting steeper. More people are having to apply. More people are feeling low. Um, and so a lot of employers are looking to reskill some of their workers so that they are able to keep them. And a lot of the legislation that's been passed has been aimed at rewarding companies who keep their employees as opposed to letting them go. So, have you had to do this in your organization? Have you had to reskill some of your employees?
Luckily, we have not had to lay anybody off at Western Tech. And so we have over 200 employees that we have been able to transition fully online, or there's a small group of individuals who are still at the campus, maintaining the facilities, maintaining the equipment, and making sure that our facilities are, spick and span according to the cleaning guidelines that the CDC has set. So that's in preparation for people coming on. But we have looked at enhancing many of their abilities, including, faculty members. So there have been continuing education units that we're trying to provide, whether we provide the training ourselves or we're bringing in, a company similar to Coursera. It's, we use a lot of a company called Max Knowledge, and that can enhance and refine certain abilities. And so when many of our faculty are still used to that in-person interaction, transitioning, a course to Zoom or to Microsoft Teams or whatever platform you're using, I think is important. And so we've tried to provide that training to them, and provide those training opportunities to them. But we have seen that many of our employees have done, honestly, a great job in adapting themselves. And I think one thing that I appreciate as the CEO at Western Tech is that our employees have been very willing to give us feedback and provide recommendations, and we take those recommendations seriously because they're the ones on the front line. And if they can provide recommendations on adaptations that we can make, I think that makes our job a lot easier. So I don't think this should be a top down approach. It should be, a bottom up. And the managers, whether they're mid-level or senior level managers, should be very open to hearing their employees feedback.
Yeah, that's and you know what, I think that's really important is, getting that feedback and being able to take it into consideration and make adjustments so that everybody feels comfortable. Because right now I know there's so much going on. It can feel a little scary at times. So this is an opportunity for employers and employees to maybe gain that relationship of trust and feedback back and forth. So you guys are doing great at Western Tech. That's really wonderful that y'all have done that. Um, Now, as far as technology, I know we've been talking about this, but obviously that's been a developing industry. Do you project to see that to continue after COVID?
Absolutely. And what I would project may be a little different. I think what we're going to continue to see is an increased level of technology in some of the other areas and businesses that maybe we're not, you know, all too accustomed to, but would like to see. You know, we were talking about air purification or air quality and, air conditioning systems. We have building automation systems that will allow, an HVAC technician to, monitor a lot of this remotely and only, attend to issues that, are presenting themselves. The analytics that are going to be tied into the technology, into our everyday life stuff should increase, and I think that's going to modify what we see from, a lot of businesses out there. And so whether we're talking about, you know just an increased level of technology as a whole, are we going to have more Zoom conferences? Yeah, I think we absolutely are. I think that, it's going to give us an opportunity to be in contact more virtually, face to face, like you and I are now. Because, that, I think that put the chamber in a position where you guys even made an adaptation and started doing this series, which has been wonderful, and you guys have had some great people on here, and I'm honored to be one of those people. But, it's giving us the opportunity to maintain face to face, just in a slightly different format, uh, and really try and reach out to a broader audience. But yeah, technology is going to increase, and we all are going to need to increase our aptitude within, how technology applies to our life. I can tell you, my parents, who also live here in El Paso, they were telling me, said, all of this, with all of this going on, of course, they started cleaning house. And they had a couple of TVs that they're like, oh, we're going to get rid of these. And they ordered from Amazon. They got smart TVs. And normally or somebody else who is a little more in tune with IT and the knowledge would go and help set that up, but they actually set that up. And so I was chatting with my mom yesterday, and um, she told my sister. My sister is in between homes right now. They're moving from the state of Wyoming down to Texas, but they're going to East Texas, and so they don't have a home right now. And so they were going to drop the kids off with my parents. And my mom laughed because she told all the grandkids, "Hey, look, if you need to know anything on IT about, how to log in or anything on the TVs," she said, "just ask me. Don't worry about that." And
Oh,
so
we're all becoming experts now. Yeah.
yeah, but it's really pushed a lot of people to learn more than what they did, and I think that's great. It's remarkable that we're going to have those technological advancements.
Yeah, I can tell you from the time that we started having Zoom meetings to now, I don't want to call myself an expert, but before I would share my screen and then it was like a good 10 minutes of like, okay, hold on everybody. And my mouse is going everywhere trying to get back. I think now now I have a better handle on it. But yeah, I agree with you with the technology is just going to be one of those fields that seems to continue. to grow. It's just the way of the future just kind of makes everything a little bit easier. So that is, I think that is good for anyone who's watching to know that, technology is one of those fields where, there may be many things that are uncertain, but when it comes to skilling yourself in something, technology is one of those things, similar to medicine or transportation, one of those things that is going to be increasing. um, and we've made some huge leaps and bounds even in the past. My nephew has an iPad, an iPhone, an Apple Watch. And I was telling him the other day, he was asking me, when did you get your first iPhone? And I was like when I was in college. When I was in high
Yeah.
school, the phone to get was the hot pink razor.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
The hot pink razor, and I didn't even get that till I was a senior. So I was telling him, like, I can't even believe you have a cell phone. I didn't have a cell phone until I was a senior. So it's one of those things where I think kids today are even a little bit more like oriented within their minds to be tech savvy. They just kind of have it. My nephew can like fix my phone in 5 seconds, and we're good to go. So, along with your mom, my nephew is also an expert. So together they could be this unstoppable force of solving all the tech issues in El Paso.
Well, and I think we are going to see that. And we were talking about ingenuity and entrepreneurship at the beginning of the live session, and I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see people trained in their own areas who are able to make these adaptations. But look, small businesses, going back to that question, are able to adapt and respond because they're more agile than a large company. They don't have as much bureaucracy to deal with. And so the level of problem solving that we're going to see after this, I believe, is going to be truly remarkable. I do.
Yeah, and I think you make an excellent point that you don't have to lose your dream of starting this business venture that you have in mind, but adding that technological aspect, taking courses in technology that it's going to undoubtedly raise your ability to be successful.
Yeah.
So it's not even so much, these are the certain fields that you should study in, or these are the certain jobs that you should take. As long as you have that technological background, something that Western tech is providing and promoting, would allow anybody to have that extra, little surprise in the back pocket of being able to survive things like this and thrive even.
Hmm.
Perfect. Okay, so uh last question. So if you are watching, please, if you have any questions, now's the time. Now's the time. But this has to do with recent graduates. So I know that, graduation this year was something completely different for a lot of people. I know my cousin sent us all a picture or a video of her pointing to her TV screen where her name was, wearing her cap. And so um a lot of the graduation processes are different, as well as the interviewing processes. Now we have a lot of recent graduates who are going to start applying for first time jobs in our job market, but a lot of them are being postponed for some industries. So what do you suggest for recent graduates who are eager to start their career, start their adult lives, who are looking to join the workforce?
I think that they need to trust themselves. That's the advice that I would give them. And don't be afraid to practice either. While your interview process may be a little different than what you would have normally or traditionally expected, in person interviews, and it may go a couple rounds, but put your name out there, put your resume out there, and don't allow this to hold you up. If you get on a Zoom conference or a Zoom interview, or whether they're utilizing some LinkedIn technology, because LinkedIn has quite a few different technologies that can be done too, and different businesses will use different platforms. But trust in yourself and trust in the knowledge that you've gained. display that knowledge and be confident in your abilities, and businesses aren't going to hold back from hiring you if they see your level of confidence and your ability can really contribute to them as an organization. We've had quite a few graduates get hired through all this, and we've actually done quite a few hiring as well of certain graduates of our own, as well as other people who are out of state who are looking at transitioning. But there are a lot of companies that are still hiring. So don't let anybody put additional obstacles in your path that really aren't there. Um, you know, I always like to say that, let's turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones, because that's what they really are. If you see that a stumbling block is in your path, step right on top of it. Use it as a stepping stone to get to your desired destination.
I really like that. That's a great way to look at it. So what I'm hearing is maybe like, don't binge watch Netflix all day and eat Cheetos and have like Cheeto stained fingers. Like, even though right now things seem like they're slowed down, this is the time to not lose momentum. Like,
Uh,
make sure that resume is updated, make sure that you're ready for an interview, have that good interview outfit ironed. Don't be like that anchor on ABC who didn't have pants on and the
yes.
camera.
Well, but I think there's an important part in that. Still, I see a lot of my friends who are like, man, I don't know. And this is on social media, but they're like, I haven't showered in like 3 days. And I'm like, dude, like, still treat yourself, like you should. Get up for the day, get ready, have a list. I know, Desiree, you're a big person on lists, and so am I too. Exactly. I I have my stuff that I need to get done, and try and create an environment that is still going to make you productive, because binge watching Netflix, as interesting as the Tiger King is, and I so I gotta say, I do pride myself on many of my Zoom backgrounds. You guys are getting a natural background in my house, but in the middle of my meetings, I will throw on different backgrounds just at random, and it's to make sure that people are still on their toes. But it's fun, it's exciting, But treat yourself like you should, in terms of holding yourself accountable and being productive. Get ready for the day, and go out and make the best of your day, whether that's in the confines of your own home or whether you get to go to the grocery store or not, but do the best you can.
Right. So just make sure that, so for recent graduates, make sure your resume is updated, or use this time if you want to jazz up your resume. Look into LinkedIn. Just don't waste your time, right? Don't get down in the dumps.
Absolutely. And if you're a graduate of ours or a graduate of, El Paso Community College, UTEP, anybody else, our career services departments are still working. We still want to help you. They may be working from home, but we want to help you, and we want to help you refine and hone in on a proper resume and help you apply for these. So reach out to your career services departments, and maintain that hope, because there are job opportunities out there. And I know unemployment's high, and we hear that all the time, but I always like to focus on the good. um, I grew up riding motorcycles in Cloudcroft. That was kind of my family's pastime and our way to get away. And one thing that my dad always taught me, because some of those trails are pretty narrow, and when you're riding a dirt bike or something through it, look, you have a goal, which is the trail. And occasionally you're going to have an obstacle or a cliff or a big boulder or a tree that can potentially get in your path. And if you focus on the obstacle, you're naturally going to start veering in the direction of that obstacle. But if you're focused on the goal, if you're focused on the path, then you are going to be able to maintain that path, which needs to be correct. And so maintain the vision on and your focus on the positive and not the negative. Because I got to be honest with you. So me personally, I just had to turn the news off because man, it's just so overwhelmingly negative all the time. And I think that if we can focus on the positive, if I can focus on trying to be a good person, trying to do my job and do it to the best of my abilities, trying to help my family and trying to help my neighbors, you know, I I think, we'll be blessed. We will.
I really like that. I'm gonna use that analogy. I hope you don't mind.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
of
I I
the
just
train.
I would recommend, you gotta pick up riding motorcycles.
Oh, my mother will kill you if she hears that. Um, so I just well, thank you so much for coming on today. We are so lucky that we have you in El Paso and your positive outlook. Even just talking to you right now really has lifted my spirits. I know for our viewers, it probably has as well. You're doing a great job. Thank you for all you do for Western Tech and for our community. And my final question, which is not scripted. So everybody, this is the time to be watching. Um, book. I'm a huge nerd, and I love reading. So I like to ask during all of our interviews about one book that you would suggest for our viewers, or just, you know, your favorite book, a book that you've recently read that you really like, a book.
Yeah. So I did reference one earlier, which was The Power of Positive Thinking. Look, that is a very old book, but I think there are a lot of valuable principles in it if you're looking at trying to modify or change your attitude or approach on things. Um, there, there are a couple others for leisure time. One of my favorite books, I got to be honest, and it's an older one. It doesn't really have anything to do with business, but I always enjoy reading it. Count of Monte Cristo. I think the Count of Monte Cristo is a great book. And then I always liked a lot of the Dan Brown stuff.
Ooh, I like that. I was not expect those were curveballs. I was not
Those,
expecting
yeah.
there
See,
you
so
go.
it depends on what you're doing. Right now, so I actually am not reading any of those because I get to read so many emails and regulations as they change, whether they're coming from the state or the city or the federal government or the Department of Education. Um, but I am still reading, some stuff. I like to say I'm a religious guy, and so I'm reading a church book right now, a spiritual book, which has actually been a phenomenal read as well.
Well, that's great. And I think we can all, regardless of what you believe in, now is a time where we all just kind of need to take that breath and just kind of, remind ourselves that we just have to do the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, find what makes you happy. Read what makes you happy. I think that um, it's a perfect time. I was, and of course I wasn't reading a book, I was reading a book last night. It just wasn't a hard copy book. It was on my phone. So, I had my phone and I was just reading through last night that book that I was referencing, and it's phenomenal, but very uplifting, and I think it made me happy and helped me sleep better. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Brad, again, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate having you joining us today.
Absolutely. Desiree, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the opportunity. And to everyone out there, I wish you all health and safety, and and hope all is well.
Thank you so much for joining us. And for everyone who viewed us, or I'm sorry, for everyone who was watching and viewing this, thank you so much. And we will be back sometime next week with extra interviews for you. So please stay tuned. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.